thank you for the introduction and thank you for inviting me. Yes, so I tried to concentrate on those three questions you asked, and I'm trying to rush through to make the 10 minutes as pleasant as possible. Okay, so I have tried to structure those questions around, I think, 3 projects, and I'm making a small short introduction, which is a little bit in the past, but it's also showing that how far one process how long it can be. Yeah, I'm just going into the introduction. I basically started to have a lot of interest in during art school in all those things like chaos and coincidence and random phenomena, and I had those things where I made devices to try to track those things, like this thing where you try to find the random things in the nature and categorize them, and somehow playing around with chaos and order. And I was kind of inspired by one of those quotes, or in that time when I was reading by Terry Pratchett, which he said was, chaos is found in greater abundance wherever order is being sought. It always defeats order because it's better organized. And I kind of like the paradox of that. And I'm just trying, I have an analog presentation, and I'm sometimes showing slides and just throwing them here away. So don't worry if you don't get that much information, but this is a part where all those things then ended up when I did my master's thesis in architecture, where I kind of evolved from that coincidence stuff into a more deliourisness method, where at some point where architecture was this rigid system where you could easily lean against because you were at the art academy and you had all the tools from art, like the serialist already used, and data and fluxus, and I kind of tried to introduce them in architecture and found it a lot of fun and way to deal with problems, not in a very logical way, but in a delirious way, which somehow ended also up in solving an issue. And this was quite fun, and it kind of started, this is basically where my interest in those paranoid and deliriousness methods started to become interesting, because I somehow sensed, oh, it's kind of working, because I had a rigid system that I could lean against from the perspective of an artist, so to say. And basically where it ended up, I became a scholarship to research this thing in a concept of an open class, where I could explore those phenomena of paranoia and try to find this gap in between art and architecture. But in the end, and this is what I'm saying, all these things, and it went for 3 years, ended up in this picture that I like the most, in court, because I had a lawsuit against the Art Academy, not because I sued them for money. It was because of the idea that at some point they did not understand what I'm doing. And it's yeah, exactly, that's the point. I did not understand where it's going. Nobody would know where it's going. And this is why that's why you granted me the scholarship to explore it. And in the meantime, they couldn't, like, no one could judge where it's going. And then it was funny that the art professors ended up with canceling the scholarship, and that's why I sued them, but not for the money, just to have a platform to talk to them again about what happened. And I wrote those lawsuit things and become a new chapter in this whole project, where at the beginning I did not know where it ended up, but that's why I like this picture. I think like this was a 3 years project. We ended up in court, but not in the sense of that, yeah, I like to end up there. I did not know that to end up there, but it was a very satisfying end of a project, I would say. I lost the lawsuit, but this is another story. And so the question about that is where to find the clip which binds things together, like starting from an idea of a master thesis, which is kind of profound, like basic, okay, you're leaving art school, you're questioning everything, and then, but you're ending up of it's staying with you for many years, and it's keeping you going until a lawsuit. And this is what I like a little bit too, where those thoughts about the method of deliriousness would find an application. And another project that is a very small project that I would kind of has some question about, let me see, like also random process of finding stuff. So I went to the dumpster to get rid of stuff of my studio, and I came back with a lot of bamboo ducks that I found there. And I just put them in my dumpster, which is basically boxes. And then I somehow stored them in the display of my studio, and then people showed up, and I had no idea so far what to do. But then people came in and they wanted to buy those ducks, and I said like, oh, okay, that's cool. Well, you can buy them. But then they said, yeah, but they are missing parts. Maybe you can repair them. And I said, yeah, sure, I can repair them. So I did the 3D prints to repair those missing parts, and I said like, oh yeah, that's cool. And then people started coming in, and they like really, like over a long time they came in because I had millions of those ducks, and they said like, yeah, maybe I want to buy another, but you have to think about another more creative thing. And so I said like, okay, if you want a more crazy protease, then I started to play with it, basically because people kind of asked me for it. And this is like a funny thing where I think people started to influence me in the way that I found something, but I did not know where it should go, or I had no also interest, except the fact that I found those ducks in a way of sculpture, that I have this bamboo thing and I should work with it. No, it was more that people started to influence me with what to do with it. And in the end, those ducks also made it into a show in Bremen. And which also I liked about it is also this killing this magical curtain of art process of, okay, there is the artist who is not showing basically how it ended up with the end result. Basically, I always said that I found those ducks, I'm doing whatever you say, and it's fun, and I like how it's transforming. And in the end, there's a story of the duck that came out of the dumpster, ended up in the museum, and I'm showing the people how basically simple it can be. And it's just like, sure, at some point I was also asked of, why aren't you doing sculpture with it? Why aren't you doing like a portfolio with it? And I was like kind of bored, not interested in that thing. I was more interested where those things are going with people influencing a project. And so it stayed also a thing for a very long time. I still have them. Like, that's why I have them. I have them here. Still some leftovers, and I still have some to do and display. And so this was another thing that I liked to show. And then there is another short project that is kind of there was a time when I was interested in the absence of knowledge. And I read an essay by this writer, Werner Kogge, that displayed the art of not knowing, of not understanding. And I kind of liked it, of the seeing the other way of also knowledge displayed in a pool of things that you know. It's more about like how important it is to not know things for doing stuff. And basically it came along with an invitation for a performance that also found a place through internet in LA by friends of me. So I built up everything. I kind of started researching on, because I wanted to do a performance on not knowing, started to research to start this process of, okay, you get into what you had, the text is already read, you know, somehow the philosophical background of that, and then you start the artistic process of researching what kind of form it can find. And then I found this guy online, it's a boy that had a video uploaded. I'm not sure if it's you can read it, but it's saying not knowing, because he accidentally, or I don't know, because he did not know, wrote it wrong. And I kind of liked it. And he had some episodes with his Spider-Man mask on, and he was pretty cool of not knowing what to do. And I really liked his performance of just standing in the camera and not knowing what to do, but still doing something. So I built up an installation around that. And in the end also I always felt the thing that basically I know what I'm doing at the moment, and displaying just like not knowing in a way that it's already dead. And so I was always concerned, and in the end I ended up in a party, and at the birthday party of a friend, and she was an actor, and then accidentally I just decided to gift her the performance. So I said, like, you know what, in some hours I will have the performance. I prepared something, but I don't know if it's right because I already know where it's almost going. So I said, like, okay, you can have it. We go over, and then we just make a performance together, or you decide what we do. And so I gave away the project at the end, and it was until now very, very hard to see how it ended up in a mess, and nobody knew what was happening, basically. But it was really cool because it's challenged myself at this point of knowing what will happen. And yeah, this was nice. And I don't know if I have still time, but there's yeah, and then the not knowing also, just I was invited for a talk for Jung van Maat, this agency, and I continue with the not knowing because I really like to introduce it to the students. So I made those. I tell them that I want to make the talk in a swimming pool because I want to pretend that I'm a Japanese swimming coach, and then I learned everything about Japanese swimming techniques, and I kind of told them that I'm this guy, and then I made those, at the end made these towels, and then connected it to the not knowing in another way, that pretending to know things. And it was funny because this project ended up this not knowing with the swimming hall guys asking me if I want to do the Japanese swimming lessons on a regular basis. So this was basically the end point, and I liked it to be invited to do Japanese swim coach lessons, swimming lessons. Also, it all started with a performance in LA, and it's also like it evolves and turns into a funny thing. And then the last thing, and I have still time, was which I'm currently interested in. I'm teaching a seminar at the university, the Department of Social Management. So it has nothing to do with art school. And it's kind of the other interest I have in, like, art brut, and also the art of mentally challenged people. This is an image out of a book that I like. It's called Zwischen Wahn und Wirklichkeit. And so I have this seminar with them where I kind of give them an introduction to art brut, and we talk about the current situation of art therapy with mentally challenged people, and the illness and the obstacles and everything. And in the end, but the task is a very, what I like, kind of a challenging creativity, that in the semester exercise, I kind of ask them to change a routine in their life, or to get a new, it's called, I think, kurik, like a tick. What is a tick? It's this. I know. Wait. It's a quirk. I think that's what it's called. So you change something which is a little bit stupid, or it's something you can't control, and that's what they have to artificially implement in their life for the next 2 or 3 months. And it's funny to observe how people that are not schooled in creativity become like those obsessed by something, and then by the obsession, and becomes very creative because it's not overlaid by parents of art school that try to design it in a way. Oh, you have it? Yeah? The time's over. Oh, yeah. And I'm just showing, I'm skipping some of the examples, maybe, which, like, it ends up in being sometimes like crazy Excel sheets, because students start to follow counting people in buses and making Excel sheets that are pages long. People having a diary over closing stuff, like because they get really into this obsession of, okay, my new quirk is to close things that I see open, and then they describe it in a diary, or they make the reefs where they always come to one place at a specific time and then they make pictures of it, or they, I don't know, start to wake up in the morning at 6 o'clock randomly, not randomly like by purpose, but not knowing what to do with their time, and then just I don't know if you see it, like trying to describe what they're doing with the extra hour of life. Yeah, or they're walking in patterns for 2 months. And this is just like some pictures out of the documentation, and then this makes me really happy to see those students kind of get into a creativity that they didn't know have been there, and because their image of creativity is always like, okay, painting something nice, doing something that is designish and stuff like that. Okay.